I hope you guys got lots of coffee this morning because we've got lots planned for you. We really hoped you enjoyed the party, all the sessions, and everything that's going on. And as you might know, this takes a lot of production. It takes months of effort to put on an event like this. And I just wanted to thank one person who has contributed just a tremendous amount, long days, late nights working on this, on all of marketing, the production, and the organization. Stephanie Tejada, can you stand up? Everybody give a nice round of applause for Stephanie. Zelda from last night. I think the sword was holding her up last night. Thank you, Stephanie. So, as you've heard at the conference, there's been a tremendous amount of buzz and anticipation around 7.0. So much so that one enterprising, young, aspiring superfan actually went all the way to Canada and snuck into our Canadian office.
CV, you seen these new social features I put in on WeHuntSC.com, and it looks sweet, huh?
Yeah, I hate to tell you, it looks like crap. It's not pretty. You need to, instead of out here hunting a deer, you need to be hunting an update.
Well, I'd have to go to the engineering office to get in on an update. I mean, they do have a new version coming out, but I'd have to go to Canada. I mean, it's a pretty long ways.
If you're scared, say you're scared.
Well, I ain't scared.
Okay.
And as you might have expected, it ended badly.
Hey, how's it going, Shaun? What's up?
What are you doing here?
How's it going? Stroll told me.
On Charles's computer.
Stroll told me I could come up and check out 7.
Are you looking at DNN7?
Yeah,
this is top secret
cool,
stuff, man. You can't be looking at that.
You guys are doing a great job.
No, you got to go out of here. You got to go.
Come on, man. No, hold. Let me get my camera.
Stop.
Man, I came all the way from South Carolina. Come on. Just one install. Can I get a download?
No, you got to wait till DNNWorld. Like everyone else.
Come on. But I'm a super fan. Super fan.
Yeah, no special treatment for Superfan this year. Sorry.
Oh, man, why are you pushing me?
Well, as it turns out, even Clint didn't have to wait for DNNWorld. He could have downloaded the beta. But you're going to hear a lot more about 7.0 coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, the next speaker needs no introduction.
Good morning, Orlando. Good morning, DNNWorld. Wow, I'm really excited to be here again and to see so many faces in the audience. When I thought about the session time slot that I got, I thought Friday morning, 8 a.m., after DNN After Dark. I figured that there'd be a few empty seats in here, but this is pretty impressive. Thank you for getting up early this morning, regardless of how you're feeling, to come here and listen to me speak. So, with that, let's get started. So, picture of a rainbow. Why a picture of a rainbow? It's not really a picture to put you to sleep. That's not my intent here. For the last 3 years, I've been doing keynotes at DNNWorld, and I've been talking about industry trends. I've been talking about how DNN Corp is watching those industry trends and how we want to be able to capitalize on those. So we talk about things like cloud, mobile, and social, which are all very disruptive trends in the market today. And these are all things that are very relevant to us as a product company and relevant to you as folks who are implementing our product. But when I talk to people, you know, in my regular course of work, I get the impression that sometimes people think that DNN Corp is chasing a lot of rainbows by going after many of these industry trends. And the thing that I want to get across today in my keynote is that all of these activities that we are involved with, all of these trends that we're following, all form part of a much larger whole. So we're building many different products, we're providing many different services, and they all come together to form the many pieces of a puzzle, which is ultimately going to result in complete solutions that you can utilize as part of your business. So this morning I'm going to talk a little bit about that 360-degree vision. So the first part of that vision, and the first part, I guess, that I'm going to talk about, which is really an important part of a product release that we're coming out with shortly, is DNN7. DNN7 is a substantial release for us. DNN6 was a substantial release as well, where we had a lot of functionality that we introduced into the platform. But DNN7 is another very substantial release, and it comes, just over a year after DNN6. So we're lucky that we've been able to add so many features and functionality to our product at this point. I'm going to be demonstrating a lot of these features in my keynote today, but to just cover them at a high level, we had 3 major themes for DNN7. A big part of the theme was ease of use. We wanted to make the software easier to use for the average business user. So these included things like a simplified web installer. I'm not going to be demonstrating that today. I believe that actually that was demonstrated a number of times in previous sessions over the last day, and I think that there's other sessions today. There's a new control panel. Every major release that we come out with, we seem to put effort into our control panel to make it easier to use for business users. New module actions menu. And drag and drop is back again in DNN7. Obviously, we had drag and drop in the past. We took it out in DNN6, but we brought it back in a much more rich and robust fashion in DNN7. Another area we're focusing on is productivity. So productivity for many different types of stakeholders. Productivity for designers, productivity for developers, and productivity for business users. So one of the things that we've heard for a long time is that .NETNuke is getting more difficult to design for. And a lot of this boiled down to our use of a default style sheet, which had become very bloated over time, and so we've optimized that quite a bit, and that'll make it much easier for designers to put together really rich and stunning skins. We also introduced some other features of the HTML editor, which is the feature that we have in our Professional Edition product, has received some serious upgrades, and I'll be able to demonstrate some of those things. Things such as version compare, where you'll be able to see side by side the changes that you've made to content before you publish. This is something that's really important as part of a workflow process that larger organizations need. And cross-site module sharing has been an item that has been on our roadmap for quite a long time, and it's finally come to reality in DNN7. And this is the ability to create content in your desktop site, share it with other desktop sites that are part of the same installation, or perhaps even share it as part of a mobile site. There's a lot of use cases for this particular item. It's tied in with the portal groups that we introduced in earlier versions of .NETNuke, and it's something that we are offering to our commercial customers. We're also offering greater enterprise connectivity as part of .NETNuke 7. So Active Directory. Many organizations use .NETNuke as an intranet solution. And within their intranet, they're most often using Active Directory for authentication. So for our commercial customers, we felt that they needed a professionally supported Active Directory provider that is in the box, that they can utilize, and is fully supported by DNN Corp. And then we've also been enhancing our SharePoint support. So, we view SharePoint as a good product and a good repository for storing documents, especially in intranet scenarios. But we think that customers want to be able to utilize SharePoint along with .NETNuke for its great external publishing capabilities. And so we introduced document management, integration with SharePoint in previous versions of .NETNuke, and we're taking that further in DNN7 with SharePoint list support. So the ability in SharePoint to create arbitrary lists of data, and then we have a number of different ways that you can utilize that data within your .NETNuke install, either in real time or as a sort of push mechanism from SharePoint to .NETNuke. So a lot of great functionality in DNN7. It'll be much more interesting to show all that in a demo. Moving on, a next key element of our strategy going forward is the DNN Cloud Services. So DNN Cloud Services is something that we've been working on for quite some time. We looked at a lot of the different, infrastructure options that were available in the market, and we decided that Windows Azure was the one that made the most sense to us, and we struck a strategic alliance with Windows Azure. That's not to say that in the future we may not also look at other cloud providers as well, but our entry point to the market is going to be built on Windows Azure, which is a very sort of proven enterprise, scalable, elastic infrastructure, which I'm also going to take some time to demonstrate today as well. So the idea with our DNN Cloud services is that we'll be able to offer you an on-demand version of our commercial edition product. Optimized, so the environment is going to be optimized for DotNetNuke specifically. So there's many hosting providers in the market that do offer DotNetNuke, but they also offer many other applications. So the one sort of key benefit that I'd like to mention here is that the environment that we're creating is specifically for our product. We know the needs of our product, so we want to make sure that our environment is completely optimized for DotNetNuke. It does simplify the IT requirements as well, in the sense that you don't have to maintain your own servers. You can rely on Microsoft for their infrastructure and rely on DNN Corp to maintain that application for you. And we have a private beta sign up that's available that was announced yesterday. That private beta, if you go to cloudbeta.dotnetnuke.com, you can sign up. It will be a limited number of folks that are allowed into that beta program, and we're looking to launch that sometime next year as a full-blown product offering. Next item I'd like to cover is mobile. So obviously, everyone has a mobile device today. We are all increasingly using those devices more and more to consume content and even create content. So mobile is definitely an area that is a focus area for us. So some of the things that we've introduced in the past, sophisticated device detection and redirection. This was introduced in an earlier version of .NET and we saw yesterday that Hilton Grand Vacations is one example of a customer who's utilizing that capability to manage multiple websites, basically a mobile optimized website and a desktop website for their customers. We integrated a commercial grade device detection repository as part of our product. That repository is available from 51degrees.mobi, so we have a strategic partnership with them. And I just want to call that out because there's not many content management systems in the market today that have a robust commercial device detection repository that is shipped with the product. Typically, you have to get that from a third party. Ours is fully integrated and it works very well. And in our commercial editions, it is also updated constantly, automatically for you, so that when new devices come out, and they do all the time, you get the latest definitions coming down to your website so that it can detect those immediately without you doing any maintenance on your own. So that's an important aspect of our commercial product, that maintainability aspect. We also introduced mobile site templates in earlier versions, and we have a device previewer which helps you optimize the content for the different display resolutions of those devices. Cross-site module sharing. I'm mentioning it here, I mentioned it earlier, but this is a particularly interesting feature as part of our mobile solution. So if you create a desktop website and a mobile website, you can share the content from your desktop website onto your mobile site without duplicating it. So, and then if you maintain that content on the desktop side, it automatically will be updated on the mobile side. This is a very serious productivity benefit for users of our platform. And we'll see that people are going to use it as part of the mobile solution. Next item I want to cover is social. This is obviously a huge theme for this conference. So social collaboration. Our last release, .NET 6.2, integrated what we call a social foundation into the platform. That social foundation included a lot of functionality. It was one of the most significant product releases we have ever done in terms of the amount of functionality we introduced. Things such as the activity feed, social groups, user relationships, a richer user profile, member directory, social login, registration. There's so many things that were included in this release. They were all embedded in the platform in an integrated manner, and they all included APIs so that third-party developers can take advantage of those social capabilities. And I'm going to demonstrate a little bit of that today. We've also made the effort to do some of those integrations in some of our key modules that people utilize in their installations. Modules such as the forums, the blogs, Q&A, they all take advantage of that social API so that you get the greater benefit from the social collaboration features that we introduced. Next aspect is many of you use .NET as a web development platform. So you build applications on top of it and utilize its APIs to build specialized applications. In .NET 7, we wanted to introduce some new capabilities, but we also wanted to modernize the platform. So Microsoft is coming out with a lot of new products this fall. Windows 8, ASP.NET 4.5, new version of Visual Studio, new version of IIS. We wanted to make sure that .NET is fully compatible with all of those new technologies from Microsoft. So that's a key part of .NET 7. At the same time, we wanted to raise our own baseline requirements for the platform. Prior to version 7, the baseline requirement is ASP.NET 3.5. Microsoft has made a lot of advancements in more modern versions of ASP.NET, so we thought it was the appropriate time to move to ASP.NET 4 as our baseline requirement. This is a big benefit for module developers because they can be assured that if a customer is running DNN 7 or higher, then they're going to have to be running ASP.NET 4. So that means they could take advantage of some of those capabilities in ASP.NET 4. We introduced a services framework in .NET 6.2. That services framework was based on ASP.NET MVC. The future of web services from a Microsoft technology perspective is a new technology called Web API. Web API will be released in production soon. And Web API is completely optimized for developing web services. And so we thought that it was appropriate for us to migrate our services framework implementation to Web API so that we can be on the cutting edge of what Microsoft is bringing to the market. Another area of focus as part of DNN 7, our data access layer has been a proven technology over time, but has become a little bit dated in terms of the techniques, and it's not exactly as high productivity as we would like, so it was time that we introduced some new capabilities there. So we have introduced a new micro ORM-based data access layer, so you can take advantage of ORM-like techniques, or you can still rely on the other techniques that you've used for data access over the years. Internally, we refer to this as the DAL2, and I'm going to demonstrate in my demo a little bit of the DAL2. Charles Nurse actually has a session later today where he's going to do a much deeper dive into the DAL2, and I encourage you to go to that if you're a developer and are interested in data access. And we also have supported Razor, which is a less verbose scripting language that's part of the Microsoft suite of tools for some time. Because we've moved to ASP.NET 4 now, we have a much better story around Razor, fully integrated story, and that's going to be part of .NET 7 as well. Last item I want to mention is the DNN Store. I'm sure we're all familiar with the DNN Store. We've all utilized commercial modules from the DNN Store. So the DNN Store had a complete overhaul this year. Basically, that store application is built on .NET. It was written and running on .NET version 2 for many, many, many years, and it was ported up to a modern version of .NET and completely rebranded. So that happened earlier this year. Obviously, the benefit of the .NET store is you can get pre-built functionality in that store at an affordable price. We heard Les Benito from the Department of Defense yesterday talk about how important this is to a business, even the size of the DoD. The fact that you can buy pre-built modules and don't have to build modules from scratch every time is a huge benefit. And so the fact that we have this store available, really important as part of our complete 360-degree view of the world. So we did make some efforts in the past to integrate the store with our product and with our update service, and there will be further integrations that we do going forward. Some of the things that team is working on currently are package verification and improved product listing pages, and there is a lot on the roadmap for the store. So it is a key part of our strategy going forward as well. The last thing I want to mention is a product that, or at least a code name that has been mentioned quite a bit over the last couple of days. So when you look at all of these different pieces that I've just discussed, DNN 7, the cloud, social, mobile, development platform, and the store, they all come together, and they're all pieces to form part of a greater whole. And there's a saying, right, that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Well, this is what we believe is the case with Nebula. So all of these different pieces are going to come together in a completely integrated manner to provide a full solution, and that full solution, at least the initial one, is going to be Nebula, and it's going to be focused on social collaboration. So it's going to be a turnkey solution. Basically, you install it, and you get the full social functionality, all configured and optimized in a way that makes sense for your business. It's going to be optimized initially for external-facing communities. That's not to say that you couldn't use it for other purposes as well, but that is the primary use case that we're looking at this point. It's going to be available on-premise using our cloud, and it's going to be available on demand as well if you want to install it on your own infrastructure. And we're looking at general availability in Q1 2013. I had a few questions yesterday in talking with different people about Nebula. And so I think it's probably important to address a couple of those. So when we talk about Nebula, it is not a completely new code base, it is a new product, but it is built on the same enterprise-grade functionality and platform that we've built over time. So it is still built on DotNetNuke. It layers in a bunch of additional rich functionality on top of DotNetNuke, but it's still the same base platform underneath. And so people can feel comfortable with the fact that this is still built on all of the same capabilities that we've had over time, but it just offers greater capabilities, and it is all packaged together as one complete solution. So all these elements sort of comprise our 360-degree vision. .NET 7, or prior versions of .NET for that matter, the cloud, mobile capabilities, social capabilities, the fact that we are a development platform, and the store. And they form part of our broad vision and strategy going forward, and they're all areas that we're going to make investments in the future. So the fact that you're using earlier, let's say .NET 6 today, and you're running it on-premise, we're still going to make investments in all of these things so that you continue to get more value as we go forward. So Nebula is just the first of a number of different business solutions that we want to offer to the market. Other solutions are still being discussed internally in terms of what makes sense, but we thought that the social collaboration aspect for external-facing communities was an important market for us to address. We've heard a lot of customers say that that is a problem that they want to solve. And so that is the initial solution, but there will be more solutions. These are all built on top of our robust CMS application. All of our solutions will be optimized for mobile capability, mobile engagement. Some of them will be optimized for social engagements, others may not. These are all going to be available on-premise and on-demand, so you have the greatest flexibility to deploy these solutions whichever way you see fit. And they're all going to be built on our platform, which means they're all extensible and flexible, because even with a turnkey solution, we still expect that there's going to be some additional functionality that you might need that is very specific to the business that you're in. And so you need that platform underneath to be able to extend it so that you can build custom modules or take advantage of pre-built modules as part of that overall solution to extend it. And with that, I'm going to actually do a demo. So I'm leaving this slide up there for just a moment, but it's actually an interesting story. So I was working on my demo for some time now, and I had some problems with my laptop this morning, as usually happens before a keynote, which is always fun. But the fact that I actually built my keynote on Windows Azure means that it's available in the cloud, which means I'm using someone else's machine, and I'm feeling pretty confident that I'm not going to have any issues with this because all of the bits are deployed in the cloud. This address, DNNW2012.cloudapp.net, is a publicly accessible URL running on Microsoft Windows Azure. So for those of you in the audience, you can actually browse to that URL right now if you so desire, and you can see that there is a site there. And as part of my demo, I'm actually going to encourage you to participate in this demo at some point. Not immediately, but I'll tell you when that to happen. But if you have devices, mobile or otherwise, that you want to take advantage of, you can browse to that site right now. All right, so we can cut over now to actually looking at the demo. So I'm logged in right now into Microsoft Windows Azure using an account on Azure that is my account. I have a couple of services in this site. I have a DNNW 2012 service, which is what this whole demonstration is going to be based on. So if I click on that service, I can see information about it. Because I just created it, all of a sudden I have a spike of some activity on this site because obviously I've told you that there is a URL available, and I'm sure there's going to be some activity going on there. This site is a DNN7 site deployed on Windows Azure. I deployed it using the .NETNuke Azure Accelerator. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Azure Accelerator, but it is available on Codeplex, DNNAzureAccelerator.codeplex.com. It was developed by one of our employees, David Rodriguez from the Canary Islands, works for us, works in our cloud services team. And even before he joined DNN Corp, he was very involved in working with Windows Azure and figuring out how to make .NETNuke run on Windows Azure in an optimized way. He created the accelerator, and he's continued to enhance it over time. And so by far, it was the easiest method for me to set up my demo. Going forward, obviously, we are going to have a turnkey Azure infrastructure that you're going to be able to take advantage of without using the Azure Accelerator. So you'll be able to sign up for our cloud services and have a turnkey solution with .NETNuke 7 pre-installed. If we go back to Windows Azure, we can see that I have a couple of databases here as well, and we have a couple of storage accounts. So the DNNWorld 2012 account that I've created has a cloud service, which is basically the compute, the CPU. It's got a database, so standard SQL Azure database, and then it's got some storage area which is where the application files and content are stored. One thing I want to show you, which is quite an interesting feature of Windows Azure. How many people here have actually used Windows Azure? So a fair number. But I expect that with the capabilities that we've added, more of you are going to find Azure quite an interesting solution. So I'm in the preview portal, which is the new portal, and I'm going to shift over to the previous portal. So there's a couple of different interfaces for Windows Azure at this point, because they've been evolving it pretty rapidly. If I go into my cloud services and my hosted services, I can see I have a couple of services there. And I'm going to connect to, because basically with Windows Azure, we're using the platform as a service option here. So we have a full virtual machine that's been deployed in the cloud for us. And I'm going to connect to that using remote desktop. So I just click on that, I say open. It's going to connect. I need to log into that account. And so just like you would log into any virtual machine, I'm now logged on to my server where my application resides. I can open the file system, and I can see Windows Azure Drive B. If I open that, I can see .NETNuke is there, and I can see all of my .NETNuke files. So the standard configuration for .NETNuke here. Why I'm showing this is pretty interesting, because if you have a new version of .NETNuke that you need to upgrade to, I found it was pretty simple to use Windows Azure for this, because I can remote desktop in and I can copy the complete set of files over top of this. Boom, I'm up and running with a new upgrade. So this is pretty powerful stuff. And so this is all capabilities that is integrated with Windows Azure today that you can take advantage of. So you have quite a lot of access with Windows Azure to your environment. All right, so shifting back to my demo, I have my site, which I actually instructed all of you to browse to. So this is the DNN 7 beta installation. You'll see that we have a new template. So we've continued on with the Awesome Cycles theme. The theme around this Awesome Cycles business is that they are a global company, a distributor of specialized bicycles. So we have a very modern-looking template now with a lot of imagery in it. And as we click through, we'll see that there's a number of different pages. We've had a little bit of fun with this template as well. These are all .NETNuke employees with fictitious names. Got a services section, but this looks like a modern website. And that was one of the key things driving this new template. Contact us. So we've got basic pages. So I go back to the home page, and I'm going to log in at this point. I'm going to log in as the host user so that I can have full access to everything in this site. So once I'm logged into the site, you'll see that we now have a new control panel. Control panel is still located up in the top of the page like it's always been, but it's styled in a much different way, and there is some new capabilities that are part of this control panel. So I hover over admin, I have access to all of the admin functionality for this site. Well, you'll see that it's been organized a little bit differently. It's not just a complete list of every option. The most common options are displayed by default, so the things that you would most typically do when you're maintaining a site. And if you want some of the more advanced options, you can go to that section and you can see the other options. So this is, making the usability better, making it simpler for people to navigate the application and not putting all of the various options that we have available in the platform in your face every time. We've also got the bookmark capability. So if there's a particular item that you think is important, you can actually bookmark it, and it adds to your bookmarks tab, and then later, so your most commonly used tasks are available in that bookmarks area. Again, this is a key usability feature. Host area has also been optimized in the same manner. So all of the most common host functionality is available in the main view. And if you go to the advanced view, you have all of the additional functionality there, and you have this bookmark capability. You still have all of the functionality that was introduced previously in prior versions of DotNetNuke and some of these tools menu, which is more utilized by developers. You've got help. You've got the modules area, which I'll describe in a minute, the ability to manage your pages and manage your users. So you've got a lot of rich functionality that you can take advantage of as part of that control panel. One of the key changes, though, that we made in DotNetNuke 7 was that when you're interacting with a website and you're logged into it as an administrator, you are not necessarily managing content all the time. You might be browsing the various aspects of the site. And so by default, we are now putting you as a user in view mode. The benefit of that is that in view mode, you don't get a lot of the overhead added to the page that you typically do in edit mode, which was the mode that was a default in prior versions of DotNetNuke. So as I navigate around the site, you'll get a much more responsive experience because in view mode, all of the caching that we have in the platform behind the scenes is actually taking effect, whereas in edit mode it's not. And so that's why in the past, if you're in edit mode and you're an administrator, you'll find that the experience is somewhat more sluggish than if you're not logged in. So in view mode, the responsiveness of the site is much better than it was previously. And then the idea is that when there is some content that needs to be modified, then you can switch into edit mode. So this is more you opting into edit mode on that particular page. So I use this big edit page button up in the top right, and I can say edit this page. And when I do that, then I'm now into edit mode. And it stays resident in edit mode for this page until I navigate away from it. And then I go back to view mode. This is a more optimized experience for the end user. So if I go into edit this page, we'll see that the module action menu has changed as well. So the manage button that we introduced in DotNetNuke 6 has been replaced with some icons. So we have icons that are displayed in the top right. All of the administrative aspects of the application are now done in sort of a 3D manner. So they're as a separate layer on top of the content that's behind the actions. This is important because in the past when we introduced an action menu, we would sometimes insert that within the content itself and sometimes mangle the site. Using a separate layer is much more efficient, much more intuitive, and it keeps the user interface much more consistent. So we have our different options here. So the pencil icon provides you with the module-specific actions for editing content or any other things that might be specific to that module. You have the items that are more specific to maintaining that module as part of the portal, things like exporting and importing, getting to the module settings where you can set the title and the permissions, deleting the module. And then you can also have the capability of moving that module around the different panes on your site. Using 3 icons, very non-intrusive, but still very obvious to the user that these are the options that you should take advantage of to edit content on your site. So if I'm going to add a new module to my site, I'm going to go up to the control panel, and I'm going to say Add New Module. So this is a new capability we've added as well. So if you choose the modules area, you have your different module categories that are part of your site. So I've got a number of different categories here. I can choose all categories, which is going to load in all of the modules for my site. And you'll see that the icons that we introduced in DotNetNuke 6 are now being taken advantage of in a more rich way. So you've got all of the different modules that are available on your site in that category that you can view here. If I go back to another category, my common category, I see that I only have the one module in that category. I can then take that module and I can drag it down into my page, and I'm going to drop it in this location. The page will be refreshed, and I have a text HTML module in that location. So it's as simple as adding modules to your page is as simple as drag and drop now. This is something that we've never offered in the platform before, and it's something that's pretty common with site builders, which have a really modern user experience. We also have the ability to then move that module if we want to, so I can move it down in this pane. So I can move it down through this menu, which will take that module that I added to the page and move it down beneath the module that was already there. So there's a lot of capability. We can also then pick this module up if we want to, and we can drag it wherever we want to. There's a number of different panes on this site, so I can drag it wherever I want to and drop it. And so there's a lot of additional user experience benefits as part of that capability. If I go back to my home page for a moment, I want to also demonstrate some of the new capabilities that we've added to the HTML Pro editor. So if I go into Edit Page, I have a text block here, Welcome to Awesome Cycles. So if I go into Edit My Content, I can see that the rich text editor that we're using has been optimized. It has a much more modern look and feel to it. But if I go to this version tracking tab, this is completely new. I have a couple of different versions of the content here. So let's put the most recent 2 versions and do a comparison. So basically, it shows you side by side what was changed between those versions. So I guess I had changed some text to make your writing dreams come true, or from a reality to come true, or vice versa. But I can see that, that we keep track of what text was inserted, what text was modified, and what text was deleted. This is a very serious productivity benefit because when you're doing workflow through different stages, you want to know what the content changes that were made to that content by the original author, if you're a reviewer or an approver. And so this makes that possible. This was not something that was possible in the platform before. We think that this is a huge benefit to larger organizations, and that's why this is part of the commercial edition. So with that, I have covered a lot of the DNN functionality. There is a lot more. There was a complete deep dive session done yesterday by one of our product managers, Israel. I would also encourage you to download the beta and play with it yourself. There is a lot of rich functionality in the application. But with that, I'm going to move on to sort of the next element of my demo, which is mobile. So if we go into the site management area, we'll see that I have already created a couple of sites here. So I have my desktop site and I have a mobile site. So this uses the multi-tenant capabilities of our platform. If I go in, I can go into my advanced settings. And because I'm running the Professional Edition product, I have access to a lot of additional functionality. So I can go into my site groups. And I can see that I've already created a site group as well. If I go and take a look at that site group, I can see that the master site is my desktop site, and I have some member sites, which is my mobile site. So the benefit here is that I've associated these 2 sites to one another. That provides me with the benefit of single sign-on. So if I'm logged into the desktop site, I can migrate or navigate to the mobile site and remain logged in, which is a huge benefit. But the other huge benefit is cross-site module sharing, because it is tied in with the portal groups capability. So with that, I've also, the other step that I had to take in order to enable my mobile site is the site redirection. So if I go into my admin area, I can go and check out my site redirection management. I've set up a default rule in there, and I can take a look at that rule. So I've said that any visitors that come to my home page, I'm going to redirect them to my mobile site. And that is only enabled right now for mobile phones. I could enable it for other devices as well, but I've just kept it simple for now. So for those of you who are actually navigating to DNNW2012.cloudapp.net on your mobile phone, you should be getting a completely different experience. You should be getting this experience. So I've created this mobile site using our mobile template, the template that we ship with .NETNuke, with our Professional Edition. So if we look at this template, I've made a few minor modifications to it. So I've taken the banner that was on the first page and I've added it to this site. So we'll see if we go to the home page. We have these large, rich banners. In this particular case, we have a rotator. On my mobile site, I didn't add that rotator, I just added the banner, but we'll see that it actually used responsive design, which are capabilities that are part of this mobile template to scale this image down to a smaller version, because on a mobile device, you can't be looking at images that are that large in dimension. The other thing that I've added to my mobile site is this content. This content here, Welcome to Awesome Cycles, is the exact same content that is on my desktop homepage. And in fact, I utilized module sharing to put this content onto my mobile site. So if I go back to my desktop site, I'm going to go into edit mode, and I'm going to actually edit this content. And we'll just make a change like I had before. And I'll save this content. And we'll see that it was changed on the desktop site. And if I go over to my mobile site and refresh the page, it's refreshed because I'm sharing the same content. So I can maintain this content in one place, and it's going to be automatically pushed out to the other sites. They don't necessarily have to be mobile sites. In this particular demo, it's a mobile site, but it could be other desktop sites. That's a pretty huge benefit for customers. So the next thing I want to demonstrate is social. So sort of the next element on my list. So I've created a community page on my site. The community page is taking advantage of some of the rich features that we added in .NET 6.2. So I've got my journal, which is my activity feed of all of the different activity that's happening on my site. And I've got a few people posting things because I'm a little behind schedule. We started a little bit late. So we have a member directory, and I encourage folks that were part of our company to actually set up an account and log in this morning so that they could participate as part of my demo. I've also got some folks who are in the audience who've registered as well. So that's pretty cool. If I go over to my mobile site and I go to my community page, which I've also created there, we can see that there's also a community activity sort of journal module that's here. And in fact, this module is being shared from my desktop site. So all the same content that is being posted on my desktop site is showing up on my mobile site automatically. Again, taking advantage of cross-site module sharing. So pretty cool stuff. So from there, I thought that I should maybe extend my site. So take advantage of the .NET as a platform capability and actually build a custom module. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with Social Mention. Social Mention is a social media monitoring product. Essentially what you do is you enter keywords, and it will monitor social networks for those keywords and notify you. Because we're all pretty busy. We can't be monitoring every social network. And so if there are key terms that are interesting to you, you might just want to receive an email whenever they're used. And then you could go and see the specific post and in what context they were used. So Social Mention works with Facebook, Twitter, and many other social networks. What I wanted to do is I want to monitor the social activity that's happening on my website. So I don't want to be on my website nonstop having to check my feed. I want to be notified when specific keywords are used. So I'm going to build a custom module which actually monitors those terms. I'm going to utilize a sort of a project that I've been working on. DNN Module Creator will help you build very simple modules in a dynamic way. And because I'm going to be building this application in the cloud on Windows Azure without Visual Studio, without compilation, I want to take advantage of this DNN Module Creator, which makes it really simple to do that. So I'm going to go back to my desktop site. I'm going to go to my profile area because this is where I want ultimately my Social Mention module to be located. And so I'm going to add that module to my site. I've already created the database structure that I need for this module. So this module is going to be pretty simple. It's going to have very simple database requirements. It's going to have a very basic user interface. It's going to have a scheduled job, which is going to run in the background and take advantage of the .NET scheduler and run every minute, and it's going to monitor my journal feed, and if it finds posts, it's going to send them to me, and it's going to utilize our social API so that those notifications show up in my inbox, in my website, and also get emailed to me. So with that, I'm going to first of all provision the database with my tables that I need. I have all of this stuff handy so that I can take the least amount of time. So you'll see that this is just a script, database script for SQL Azure, creating a social mentions table with some basic fields to it, creating some foreign key relationships, creating an index. I also had to add a special one stored procedure for one specific purpose, which I'll explain in a minute. So if I go back to my site, I'm going to just paste, if I can use this keyboard, paste that into my SQL. Now, this is a demo. I wouldn't recommend that you do this kind of stuff on your production website, obviously. You all know that, I hope. But for the purpose of this demo, this shows some of the dynamic capability that we've got in the platform. So I'm going to run a script. I'm going to run this script, executes that against my database, created my table for me. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my user profile, and I'm going to add my, my social mention module. But I'm going to build it using the DNN module creator that I just showed you. So I'm going to add a new module. I've already installed DNN module creator on my site, so I'm going to choose development. So I've got my DNN module creator. I'm going to add that to my content pane initially. So the DNN module creator gives me some very basic fields that I need to fill out. So I've got an owner name of DNN Corp. I'm going to call my module social mention. I can give it a description if I want. I'm going to write this module in C#, and I have some templates that I can choose from here. I can create many different types of dynamic modules. I can create them as a standard user control, inline script, Razor. HTML is basically a module which you basically just build in pure HTML, and it loads it into the page. I'm going to use standard user control, and I'm just going to call the default control that I'm creating a view control. And I'm going to say create module. Basically what this module does at this point is it registers the module in the database for you. So the social mention module was created inline in my page. It was registered in the database automatically for me. So all of the wiring stuff was hooked up. It copied some template files into a directory on my system in the appropriate location. So I basically have a pre-built module at this point, and it uses the default form patterns so that developers get some guidance in terms of how to use those form patterns. Now this is not ultimately how I want the module to look, because this is just basic boilerplate. The other thing that the DNN module creator does for you is it overrides some of the core capabilities around the view source option. So if I go into view source, I can see that it's completely changed the view source tab. And it's given you a bit of a code editor that you can look at with line numbers, with some code highlighting, and by default it picked up my user control, and it's showing me the content of that. It also has the capability where I can add additional controls to this module. By default, it only added a view control. I might need other things that are part of my module. So I can add other controls. I can also add class file if I want to. So I can add a class file that's going to be placed in my app code folder. I can create a scheduled job, which gives me a class that'll be put in app code, which is designed to run as a scheduled job. I can even create web services using the new web API capabilities. So it gives you sort of boilerplate templates that you can use to create additional capabilities. I'm going to go back to edit control for a minute here. And this view is not the view that I need, so I have some code that I'm going to copy and paste into my environment here. So I'm going to change my view control. I'm going to get rid of all of this default content. Yeah, that's not what I wanted to do. So this is the challenge of using a different computer. So I've got my backspace. I think I pressed the wrong key. That was probably, all right. So let's paste this content in. So I've got a user control, pretty basic. It's just going to ask for, it's going to have a field to enter a term, and it's going to show you your terms. So I can say update. And what that does is it updates my file on my server. So this updated the actual file in the cloud. I'm going to choose the C# code file that's associated to that, and I'm going to highlight all of that code, get rid of it. Go back and take the code that I wrote previously and paste that in. So see some basic C# code. It's going to load the terms that are in the database. What else does it do? It allows me to add a new term, and I'll show all this in the user interface, and then it's going to bind this to a grid. So I'm going to update that as well. So that was updated, perfect. There's also some other files I had created previously. So socialmention.cs is a class file that's in my app code folder already. I could have created this using the module creator, but it would have restarted my site, which would take more time. So this is a basic POCO class. And this is a class that is going to be utilized for data access and for interacting with the social mention. I have a controller that I've created. So this controller is using .NetNuke.data, which is our new DAL2 data access layer, using our repository. So I've got an add method, which is using the repository. And you'll notice that, or maybe you didn't notice, but I should call out the fact that earlier when I created the data structure for my module, I didn't create all of the different methods for add, update, delete, get. Those are all being taken care of by the ORM capabilities of the new data access layer. And it keeps my code really simple, and basically I didn't have to write any data access code. I just had to write some very simple methods, and it's going to use the ORM capabilities. So I've got a method for adding, deleting, getting, updating. And that's all I basically need. I also have a social mention scheduled job. All of these, coincidentally, all of these files here were initially created using the DNN module creator. So I've got a scheduled job. This is a file that's sitting in app code. It's going to run on a schedule. It's going to say whether it succeeded or failed or not. It's got a processing section where it reads the social mentions, or sorry, the journal entries, and it's going to look for keywords. If I go down to the send notifications area, we'll see that I'm using the .NetNuke social API to send a notification to a user. So the amount of code that's required to actually insert a notification into the site, very minimal. I found this code to be pretty easy to write, and I was able to enhance the module that I'm creating with significant functionality by making it integrated into the social capabilities of the site. So with that, I'm going to refresh my page, and let's move this module to my right pane. Okay, so it's going to show up underneath my navigation, and let's enter a term. So DNNWorld without a space, add it. Excellent. So it added this term to my database and tells me I have 0 mentions of that term so far. So the next thing I need to do is I have a scheduled job, which I need to enable. So I can go into my scheduler. So I can go into schedule. And I can go down to social mention, which is an entry I've already created. It's pointing to a class that's in app code. And I just have to enable this. I'm going to have this job run every minute, so once a minute. And I'm going to update that to kick off that job to add it to this scheduler so that it is part of the site. And I'm going to go back to my profile, and wow, okay, so my notifications already went up to 2. If I click on that, and I can see people are entering things on the site. And so if we go over to the community area, we'll see that people are entering things on the site. Mr. Kruger already posted something a few seconds ago. So, oh wow, okay, and all of a sudden I have 14 notifications. All right, so, and if I click on my notifications area, I can see that I have a whole bunch of items here that have been entered. And if I click on those entries, I can go and see Phil Beatles. And I can see that he used the word DNNWorld. Again, if I go back to my notifications area, whoops, let's go look at Bob. So I can click on him, and I can see that he also used the word DNNWorld. And so all of these notifications are being fed into my inbox, but they're also being sent via email using the notification system so that I don't have to be on the site. I'll just get a series of messages saying that these terms were used on my website, and I can go there. So the last thing I want to mention is, a module like this did not take that much time to build, and it is an integrated part of my site. If I was so inclined, and I thought that there was value in this module, I could very easily package it up. So if I go back to the profile page and I go into Edit View, I can go into the View Source capability here, but I also see that I have additional capabilities here, and I can say I want to package this module, the social mention module that I created, which takes me into the standard packager, which I can walk through, which will create a social mention package for me, and I could actually post that on Snow Covered and make it available for sale for other people to utilize within a few minutes. So that capability of pre-built functionality is things that every developer can take advantage of and is a key part of our overall strategy. The other thing, I guess I should go over to the mobile site, and I can see if I go in the community tab, I got all kinds of posts that are showing up here with different images, all being shared from the desktop site. So that's my demo for this morning. If we switch back over now to the slide view for a second, we've got, I just want to thank you for coming to DNNWorld this year. Thank you for coming to my early morning keynote. I started off this presentation by talking about chasing rainbows, and I hope I've demonstrated that all of the capabilities that we've added to the platform over the last 2 to 3 years are all forming part of a greater whole so that we can all reach that pot of gold at the end of that rainbow. Thank you very much.